I want to welcome everybody to the Zoom gathering, the fourth one of our five. And this is going to be for the cover reveal of my new book, Word of Honor. Now, Word of Honor is the 15th book. Wow. Let me say that again. 15th book in the Honor series. It is the third and final book in the Spanish-Cuban-American War trilogy. And it is a subject matter that is dear to my heart, as you know, because Cuba is dear to my heart, as is Puerto Rico. Now, here's some stats for you. Here's some trivia. This trivia will help you in any bar, tavern, pub in the world. So far, in the 15 novels, I have written 1,652,000 words. That is 5,721 pages. And we have approximately 70,000 copies sold. Actually, it's more than that, but that was the last that I saw. And it is the second book published by the United States Naval Institute Press. That is the premier maritime press publisher in the world. And they published my last book, which has already won 3 awards. It's up for another one. And it did very well. The critics really liked it. The Wakians, my readers, liked it. And they came to me a couple of years ago and they wanted to do my next book, which was my last book, Honoring the Enemy. And I was humbled and honored by the fact that they wanted to do that. I have been a member of the United States Naval Institute for 31 years. And I have a great amount of respect for the people there, for the leadership there. They have, since 1874, provided leadership in the field of naval history and naval strategy and things like that. They are the brain repository, basically, of the maritime naval world, the sea services, as they call it, for the United States. Now, I want to go over 3 easy rules tonight. You already know them because most of you have been to my other Zoom gatherings, but I'll go over them one more time. First off, no current politics, please. Secondly, mute your computer right now. Please make sure it's muted. It probably already is, but just make sure it's muted so that we don't get any interruptions. And third, we're going to unmute the computers once I'm done talking and open it up for questions, discussions, suggestions, whatever. Those are the 3 easy rules. Now, let me see. I think, it's time for our weekly toast. And I think you're going to understand and appreciate this one. Our wine tonight is a MERF, M-E-R-F, MERF 2016 Cabernet Sauvignon. And here is the bottle. MERF the title is short for David Merfeld, is the winemaker. He's in the Columbia Valley. He's originally from Iowa. He is from the Columbia Valley now in Washington State, and he is highly regarded in the country as one of the finest winemakers in the United States. I met him at the Seattle Seahawks Stadium, and we hit it off. I got to taste his wines, and I've been drinking them ever since. They're really good. They're great with dinner. So here is the toast. Now, this toast comes to us from none other than Theodore Roosevelt, one of my favorite presidents, as you know. By the way, he's in the new book. So here's the toast. Believe you can, and you're halfway there. Isn't that true? He said a lot of things that were true. Now, let's take a look at what's going to be in the book, what you're going to be reading about in the new book. First off, it starts in 1901. Those of you who know your history know that the Spanish-American War was over for 3 years by then. Why would it start in 1901? Well, you will find out, because a little later I'm going to do a author reading, but Peter Wake, 3 years after the war, has to explain some things that he did during the war. You're going to read about some magnificent Cuban patriots. You're going to find out about the end of U.S. combat operations in Cuba in 1898. You're going to find out about Theodore Roosevelt's last weeks inside Cuba, a perilous situation with yellow fever, dysentery, typhoid, trying to keep his men alive, and his incredible rise to the presidency, completely unplanned, unprecedented, and it is the stuff of a movie. I wish somebody would make a movie about that. You're going to learn about the U.S. invasion of Puerto Rico. It didn't go like the one in Cuba. We had a different commander in charge. It went much better. In fact, it was almost a textbook. If you were teaching how not to do it, and I've actually done this in my role as a consultant for the Army, you teach Cuba was the wrong way to do an invasion. Puerto Rico was the right way to do an invasion. You're going to learn about the incredible strain on the marriage of Peter Wake and Maria, his wife. He is so much in love with her. He's fascinated by his wife. It's a late in life marriage for both of them, but it's under strain. And you're going to learn about the end days of the French Panama Canal. Yes, many people do not know that the French actually built most of the Panama Canal. We stepped in later and took it over, finished it off. We had a rough road to hoe, but they had an even rougher one to row. You're going to learn about a crazy expat American, King Alonso, of a remote island in the Caribbean. That island, by the way, is still American. Yep. The CIA used it for many years. Most people don't even know where it is. You will. You're going to learn about what lies in Peter Wake's future. I think you're going to be surprised. So now I want to show you, by the way, I have maps in my novels. I'm one of the only novelists who does this. And I am a cartophile. I am a lover of maps. And I don't know if you know this, but I make all the maps in my books. So, of course, Peter Wake makes the maps, but I help the guy out a little bit. So I want to show you the map that is going to be in the new book. It's going to be in the beginning of the book so that as you read the book, you can follow along, because that's what I like to do when I read a book. I like a book with a map. I'm spatially oriented, evidently, or geographically or something. This is the map. This is the Caribbean Sea. Obviously, this is Florida right here. Here's Cuba. Here is Puerto Rico. Here's Colombia, Panama, and Central America right here. You're going to be all over the Caribbean in this book. You're going to travel while searching for a Spanish ocean raider. And we have an image that is taken from the map that we want to put on the screen now there. So you can see this is a sketch chart by Peter Wake, and he diagrams, this is from his memoirs, and so he diagrams out where his operations were in the Caribbean in the summer of 1898. Now, I want to talk to you about some of the places in the book. Santiago de Cuba, that's Eastern Cuba. My last book was all about that area and American and Cuban operations against the Spanish during the war in 1898. I have been going to Cuba for 11 years. I've gone there about 25 times to do research and also to take my readers there. I can't wait until the situation changes and I can return to taking my readers to Cuba, both Eastern Cuba and Havana in the West, where they can see the places that are in my books. It's great joy for me. And the south coast of Puerto Rico, where the invasion took place. Now, I actually did the research for that, the eyeball recon, the locale research. I did that 17 years ago. I knew then that I was going to write this book. I was in the Caribbean many times, and I visited the Dutch island. In Panama, here's something interesting that most people don't know. In 1996, I was the guest of the Panama Canal, and I worked a day on a tugboat in the locks, and I also worked a day as the lockmaster, locking ships through. If you've been through the Panama Canal, and if you went through in 1996, I might have been the one locking you through. It was very scary for me, but it was exciting. And don't worry, I didn't damage any ships. There was one that was maybe, but it wasn't big damage. You're gonna see some remote islands. I've been to these islands in the Caribbean. And of course, you're going to be in Washington, D.C. I spent a lot of time in Washington, D.C. I've spent about 25 years going there for research. I was there for 10 years as a consultant for the Department of Defense. I used to do an annual project for them there at Fort Belvoir and also some other places there. And so you're going to get a really good look at the Caribbean in 1898. And now I would like to do an author reading. I want to do the very first page of the first chapter. That the book starts in 1901. Well, it starts on October 10th. Some of you know the importance of that date. It's the Declaration of Independence Day in 1868 for Cuba. It took them 30 years to actually fight and get their independence. But that's when it was first declared. It also is when the new book comes out. Now, here we go. Chapter 1. The, quote, conversation, unquote. Room 247, State, War, and Navy Building, Washington, D.C., Thursday, 10 October, 1901. It had been a pleasant morning thus far. That should have warned me. Pleasant mornings in Washington never last long. Thank you for coming, Captain Wake. Please sit down, the Admiral said as I walked into the small conference room. I believe you know everyone. Though his words were polite, there was no warmth in his tone. Neither he nor the other two men in the room offered to shake my hand. My amiability evaporated. I scrutinized Rear Admiral Theodore Pentwaller's stern face, somewhat distracted by his outlandish and outdated mutton chop sideburns. He looked distinctly uncomfortable as he gestured to the lone vacant chair on the other side of the table. I'd assumed my summons was to provide an update on the General Board of the Navy's contingency plan to defend against a potential German plan to seize a base in the Caribbean. My work on the project was nearing completion, and such an update to Admiral Dewey would have been a routine matter. But Dewey wasn't in the room, and the atmosphere was anything but routine. In fact, it was ominous. Wow. it's going to be tough for Peter Wick. And you're going to be with him every moment of this journey. And now I would like to reveal, this is the fun thing that I love doing every year. I would like to show you the cover of my newest book, published by the United States Naval Institute Press. Here it is. And we're going to, let me get it over there. And we're going to show you an actual blow-up of this so that you can see more details. But it is an 1898 map of the Caribbean. It is a period depiction of the area of operations where all the action happens. And I love the way they did this. It is done in a sepia kind of tone, which is a historical tone. And the graphics people at the Naval Institute Press did a magnificent job, as they do with interior things too. So let's show the screen there. We have it on the screen. And it is one of my favorite book covers. As you can see, it sets the right tone for the novel, and I'm looking forward to sharing it with you come October. We're only 4 months away. Actually, it's a little less than that, come to think of it. So I'm very much looking forward to this. Okay, now that you've memorized the book cover, we're going to open it up for questions and answers and suggestions. And please remember, we're going to unmute everybody. And please make sure your devices are unmuted. Please remember, if you make any noises like a cough or somebody speaking on the other side of the room or a phone rings, then you're going to be on the video, not me. And so people won't be able to see me answer the question. But if you have a question, please ask them. I love this part. I always get great questions.
Hello, Mark Golden. I have a question for you.
Golden, okay.
I enjoyed your depiction of the submarine that Lieutenant Wake went down in off of Peru.
Yeah.
Have you been aboard or gone to sea in a modern submarine?
In a modern submarine, I've been aboard several modern submarines, but we've never left the dock. I am still amazed by the fact that people can go to sea for 2 or 3 or 4 months in those long metal tubes. But I've been aboard, my last submarine that I was aboard was the USS Virginia, which is, of course, as you know, the newer ones, and it's a special submarine. And that was at New London. So, any other questions?
Bob, Dave Kahn.
Dave?
How you doing, brother?
I'm doing fine.
When are we going back to Cuba?
I don't know.
Okay, I'm ready.
Yeah.
Which visit for this new book was most interesting research you did? Where'd you visit that was the most interesting?
It would have to be Cuba and Panama. Cuba and Panama. I spent time in Colombia also. You're going to be going to Colombia. I worked there in 1993. It was not interesting, it was perilous. But I've been back there many times since, and Colombia has turned it completely around. And I urge everybody to go to Colombia, particularly Cartagena. It's a beautiful city. So I think that Panama and Cuba were the most interesting, but also Colombia. Okay.
Bob, Ed Pinto here.
Hi, Ed Pinto. How are you doing?
Good. Have you ever tried the MATUSALEM rum?
Oh, yes.
Oh, this is a great rum. I broke it open today for this meeting.
Well, I'm glad.
This is a great rum.
Wake's favorite rum.
I know.
Really, it's my favorite rum. Now, how did that happen?
Well, I tell you what, it's becoming one of my favorites now. It's delicious.
Yes, it is. It's the finest sipping rum of Cuba. It's no longer made in Cuba, but the sugar was brought over to the Dominican Republic, and they still use the same process.
But I can get it in one store in the Ocean City, Maryland area.
Well, then it's worth it.
Okay.
We have here with a question.
Hey, Bob, Scott Baxter.
Hi, Scott. How are you doing?
Good, mate. I just had a question. Do you have yourself some favorite naval fiction writers, and are you a fan of, say, some of the classics like, Melville and Conrad?
Yes, I am, but my very favorite is of course C.S. Forester. I dedicated one of my books to C.S. Forester and George MacDonald Fraser, who, in my opinion, are the best historical novelists ever. There have been some others that have done really great work, but those are the two that I really, really like.
Well, here, it's fun that you start your new book with room 247 of the State War and Navy building. I actually worked on the same floor when it was the old executive office building
Yes?
in the Reagan administration. A buddy of mine there was a young Marine lieutenant colonel named Ollie North.
Oh,
My question, one other observation for those with any Navy background, and for you when you're talking to your naval proceedings friends, we were driving from Cape Coral near where you live up to Virginia one year, and crossed the Florida line about as the sun was going down, and saw a sign for Kings Bay Naval Base, and tripped over a tour we took of the USS Pennsylvania, a boomer in dry dock. So folks with access to that base, we had not realized that was possible. It was wonderful. My question, new book, begins in 1901. How far forward does it go year-wise? Does it go up to 1903?
okay, that's a great question. And it's going to not go any farther than 1901. October 1901, there were some significant things that happened. There were some significant things that had just happened. It's going to be a lot of flashbacks back to 1898. He walks in that conference room that I just read aloud about. He's going to have to explain what he did back in 1898. So the books ahead of this one in the future will take it forward beyond that.
That conference room might possibly be the current number 2 office of the vice president. He has one in the West Wing and one in the old executive office building.
Very, very good. It's very close to the ceremonial office of the vice president, which used to be, when that was the Navy Department, that used to be the Secretary of the Navy's office. Right next to that was Theodore Roosevelt's office, who was Assistant Secretary of the Navy. Interesting trivia, the Reagan administration renovated it to its 1880s appearance, to its late 1880s appearance. And the old Navy library that I'm sure you remember, and Secretary of the Navy's office, that was renovated, and I knew some of the people that did the renovation work. And they were able to help me on my research. They were part of my SMART Reagan team, subject matter advanced research team. In fact, one of them was the chief curator of the White House, which included the old executive office building. So, any other questions?
Yeah, it's Martin Strasmore here, not far away from you in Naples, Florida. I've been involved in doing some podcasts, and I'm wondering if you considered doing podcasts. Your stories are so much better than a lot of the other ones that are out there. And it's not that difficult to do them.
Well, thank you very, very much. We're doing 5 Zooms. We've never done anything like this before. I want to stay connected with my readers in this time when I can't have a personal interaction at an event. and my lectures have been canceled. So I don't know what the future. I don't know what the future will bring. I really don't.
But podcast would be, say, half an hour long, and you'd break the book down into half-hour segments. It would really work well, I think.
This is a great suggestion. You're very well versed in these kind of things, and I'm listening very carefully to you. So thank you.
If you like, I'll give you a call. We can talk about it.
I'm sorry, what?
I'll give you a call if you like, and we can talk about it.
Okay. I was a guest on a podcast for NPR, and it was called the 3 Song Stories thing, and it worked out actually very, very well. I was impressed. When I do interviews with with PBS and NPR, they are extremely professional, and it always comes off very well. So podcasts can work that way. Yeah. Yeah, I'd love to learn more about it. Any other? We have time for one last question, I think. So, do we have another question?
I have a question. Sorry to.
Yes, Michael.
This says it's a Peter Wake novel.
Yes.
They're not all a Peter Wake novels. What qualifies this? Because they're all from Peter Wake, but what qualifies this as a novel, not his memoirs, his stories? Why is this a Peter Wake novel?
Well, it is a novel. The novel is cloaked in his memoirs. So other novels have done this, and they write a novel in the literary form of a fictional person's memoirs. So Peter Wake, who has this uncanny ability to be where all the action is, both as a naval officer and just as a person, and who tells the story of these significant events from his viewpoint in the action. And so it is a novel, yes, it is a novel, which makes me a novelist. Oh.
Bob, thank you very much once again.
Thank you, Mark. And I want to welcome everybody in advance to next Tuesday, same time, same station. It's going to be our 5th and final Zoom gathering for this series, and it's going to be an open discussion of suggestions and questions about all of my work and where it's been and where it's going. It's entitled "What Inquiring Wakians Want to Know." And I'm very much looking forward to that. Just like tonight, I got great suggestions and great questions. So next Tuesday, bring a little something to drink, and let's enjoy ourselves next Tuesday night. Until then, good night, my friends. Onward and upward.
Thank you.
Good night, Bob.
Cover.
Thank you.
Cheers.
I'm very proud of my readers, as you all know. I go to these reader festivals, these book festivals, and there's always a room in the back for authors, and they have some food and they have some drinks. And we get to talking, and the other authors are so jealous because I actually have more fun than they do, particularly with my readers. So